The road to the 500 episode begins this morning with T minus 10 episodes remaining for the 500 episode of the greatest talk show on the planet, in the universe, in the galaxy, and beyond. It's not often that a talk show reaches the milestone of 500 episodes. There's still a long way to go, but the road begins this morning. And how many times do you celebrate? Of course, the 4th of March becomes a slightly different day for a different individual in terms of celebration, but we shall not go into those details as a milestone episode approaches. We are half a thousand episodes into the making. And on the 26th of June, when this talk show made its debut, who thought we would be reaching 500 episodes in a space of 3.5 years? In fact, we will be completing 4 years this June. And when one talks about the road to the 500 episode, it's a day of celebration. It's the next 10 episodes will be full of celebration and drama. But let's move on to something even more interesting. Let's move on to the India Sri Lanka Test Championship match, which is happening right now as we speak. And of course, the team that was selected, the team which I selected, was slightly different from the team management wanted. But it's a very slight difference. Of course, instead of Gill, they got Agarwal, and instead of Siraj, they've got Jayant Yadav. But apart from that, it's nearly the same team. And here we go with the match. So after 8.2 overs, India are 41 for 0 as Suranga Rakman bowls to Rohit Sharma, who was in his first match as Test captain. But for me, Rohit Sharma as captain is a temporary phase, just as once upon a time, 16 years ago, it was Rahul Dravid who took over the captaincy after a lot of controversial things came into place. And that's the most interesting part. So 8 overs, 41 for 0. It doesn't surprise me. One can say that Sri Lanka have bowled poorly, or it's a typical poor, low bounce, no swing Indian pitch. So what do you expect? And of course, Sri Lanka, a team in transition, India, a team in transition, India having fired 2 of its major players in Mahane and Pujara. So I don't agree with the term transition. There will be no transition as long as I run this talk show. No transition is happening, no handover is happening ever. But let's focus on the match. With 4 boundaries each, Agarwal on 90 and Rohit on 21, it's 42 for 0 after 8.4 overs. And what are we looking forward to? Well, of course, there's been a huge fizz and fuss around the 100th match of a certain player. Well, we'll talk on that as this match progresses. As Agarwal once again on the pads and 2 runs easily taken. So after 8.5 overs, going at 5 runs per over, India are 44 for 0. But don't expect this to happen. Of course, there's nothing surprising about this as the things are happening. There's no surprise about India going at 9 runs per over after Mayank Agarwal played and missed a few balls which beat the outside edge but not enough to take the edge. And that's the most important thing. And then 12 points on the line for the Test Championship. Of course, you get those points, you make it to the finals. There are no semi-finals, there are no qualifying things. You reach the maximum number of points, you are in the finals. As Agarwal defends after 9 overs, it's 44 for 0. Of course, it's easy to say that India is batting like this because the other team is batting poorly. You can look at it any other way as Lahiru Kumara, an emerging top bowler, runs into Rohit, who as always defends, and both of them are going at a strike rate of over 70. And that's how these things happen. And don't be surprised if they have a partnership of 200 runs in 40 overs and India reach around 350 by the end of day to night. And then one thing that has irked me, which I talked about in the last episode, is the crowds. I think the crowds, allowing the crowds was an obligation. It wasn't done with much excitement. Of course, crowds are there, but they're scattered. I wanted a full house, packed to the rafters, no space for anyone to move. And there goes Rohit. He pulls it away for a boundary. One bounce into the mid-wicket boundary, short delivery, and he says, "Thank you so much." With 9 fours, 5+4, and the strike rate now over 100. And maybe Rohit is looking to become to reach 100 in his first match as a captain, and Rohit is looking to become the first Indian player to reach 100 in his 100th match as a player. And then this transition will let me once again clarify this transition of this Rohit Kohli thing. Of course, for me, one is my guy. Rohit is only, as one says, a filler. And of course, looking at how things were, he was going to be the only guy to get a chance, having looked at the fact that Rouhani and Pujara did not fulfill the fancies of the pseudo and boorish selection committee. It's not surprising that he is the captain, but well, whether it's 50 overs, 20 overs, or 5-day matches, it makes no difference. If you were in Australia, you would not be 48 for 0 in 9.2 overs. And that's one thing you have to remember as Lahiru Kumara bowls. Once again, Rohit pulls and he will beat the fielder to get his second boundary of the match, second boundary of the over. And India are now nearly going at 6 to the over. So he's in the mood. For him, it doesn't matter whether it's 20 overs, 50 overs. If the ball is in the arc, it's out of the park. And then, of course, there's been a whole conversation around who should open. There's Prithvi Shaw, there's Agarwal, there's Rahul. They want Gill in the middle order. Gill is not playing today, and that's a disappointment for me. But then they could only put in 2 players to replace the other 2 players, which will be an important part in this particular tournament. Who replaces whom? 3 spinners, 2 fast bowlers. Nothing surprising about it. But then the 2 fast bowlers in Shami and Bumrah, that's the most interesting part. Of course, we're looking at transition. And the moment you reach a certain age in cricket, you are a dinosaur, you are a senior citizen. So in that case, even if Rohit is playing, Rohit at best, they might stretch his captaincy tenure till the World Cup. That is the 3 World Cups that are happening. You never know. If he manages to win all the 3 World Cups, which is a possibility, so there are players from other teams who are also looking forward to that aspect. But if, hypothetically, if he manages to win all 3 World Cups, he'll go beyond a former player who won 2 and another player who came close to winning a 3rd. And that's going to be the most interesting part as we come to the end of the first power play, as it's called in the 50-over format. There are no power plays here, but Lahiru Kumara steams into Rohit Sharma. Once again, full shot, and this has been taken. And that's the Achilles heel for Rohit Sharma. He's been dismissed like this numerous times before, gets carried away by the momentum. The crowd started cheering, the commentators start going berserk, and what happens? Exactly the kind of situation which happened in England. the kind of situation which happened in Australia and South Africa. He pulls and he pulls straight to the fielder at mid wicket. This happened numerous times on that England tournament, England tour. Short ball, guy bowling at 145 and a fielder at the square leg. These things seem to happen by deja vu, but still, decent knock. Strike cut of 100 doesn't come often. After 10, after 9.5 in the first, fielding restriction power play, it's 1 for 52. Interesting start. And of course, Hanuma Bihari comes in at number 3. You won't see a familiar face in a certain Pujara. And of course, there's a whole talk about the middle order musical chair, the middle order symphony. I talk more on that in a specific episode because I have a lot to talk on the whole middle order muddle. And it's time to put a tape on a few individuals, not only put a tape, but put a duct tape all over their body, especially couple of good quality duct tapes all over their mouth. It's time for some individuals to just keep their things shut. And that's the most important thing. So 9.5 overs, 1 for 52, 10 overs, 5.5 runs per over, but now expecting to slow down with Hanuma Vihari coming into the picture and he will bat slowly. Of course, he gets an opportunity. Everyone says he rarely gets an opportunity. Now he gets an opportunity. He bats at number 3 for his local team. It doesn't make a difference that way. So the final ball of the 10th over, final ball of what one calls a power play. And let's see what happens. As Laidu Kumara steams in and the ball keeping low, but a single taken. So 10 gone, 1 for 53 in the first power play. I mean, this is a good score in 50 overs and the 5-day matches. In the 5-day match, I mean, you got carried away. You can say that Sri Lanka bowled badly and they gave too much on the pads and all those things, but that's just an excuse in my point of view. And with three fast bowlers, 1.5 spinner, or I can include Dhananjay De Silva as a proper spinner, if one can go with that, the all-rounder spinner, 3 fast bowlers, 2 spinners, and Angelo Matthews as the all-rounder in this particular case, it will be a very interesting situation as to how things shape up. So 1 for 53 after 10 overs in the first power play. And I think it's time for free hits to be introduced in this. Let's not be too conservative. Let's have fielding restrictions, free hits, wides to be given. Otherwise, well, then it's too boring. But 53, and I would rather have 53 for 1 than 20 for 0. Of course, he got out. You can question the resolve of the particular player as Suranga Lakshman goes into Hanuma Vihari, who defends. Of course, he's just come into the picture, and the match is happening at Mohali, where 50% crowd have been allowed, which I think is not that good a decision. Full house should have been there. I'm not impressed by this half and half story. But that's the way things are as Suranga Lakshman bowls to Hanuma Vihari, who you expect the runway to slow down to go from 5 to 4 in a matter of minutes. Once again, the ball keeps low, and he was lucky to get his bat in, otherwise he would have been plumb LBW, and that's one thing that we have to be cognizant about. Typical Indian pitch, ball keeping low, no bounce, no swing, no pace, nothing. I mean, there's no fun playing there. You have 500 runs scored for a joke, the other team scores another 500 runs, the match goes into a draw, you get 4 points for a draw, but it doesn't affect your standing in the table, ranking table. That will be the interesting part. As Lakshman once again bowls to Vihari, who defends. But then, let's just take a preview of what I will have in my episode after a couple of episodes. Of course, the middle order has been transitioning, though I am not in favor of the term transition because it seems like a very negative term. It seems as if you're not confident of the players who are leaving, supposedly leaving, and the players who have been given an opportunity. And of course, downgrading contracts, firing them. It's a very corporate kind of. It's not a modern day thing. It's a very poor way to look at somebody. But I've talked about it, so I won't talk about it. Once again, on the pads, and the batter says, "Thank you so much." So the boundary count keeps on moving. Another boundary, possibly the 11th boundary in 11 overs out of 57 runs, is not a bad thing to do. But then don't expect 57 for 1 if this was South Africa, Australia, England. It would be 27 for 2 maybe if this was South Africa, Australia, England. That's one thing you have to remember. That's one thing you cannot forget. On the pads, had he missed, maybe they would have gone for LBW appeal, would have been struck outside the line of leg stump. So Sri Lanka, if they review their performance, and if we have to go by the cliche terms and the term that everyone loves using, they have bowled too straight. They have bowled on the pads. They have allowed the batters to score the runs. And once they bowl on the off stump, the batters are unable to get the shot going. So, what should the bowlers do as you expect in these cliche sort of situations? Well, you bowl straight, you bowl in that middle off line, not in the middle leg line, or what is called bowling too straight. It means it means maybe after 2 or 3 overs with one spinner and one spinning all rounder, he will have no option to reduce his spinning all rounder. He's gone with 4 bowlers, which will affect going further in the match. I don't know how many India will make today, maybe 270, 280. As a single is taken, after 11 overs, it's 1 for 58, going at 5 to the over. But don't get carried away with this 5 to the over story because I've seen this on a million occasions. It happens. It happens. New Zealand came, they were guilty, and tomorrow, I'll tell you what will happen tomorrow. Tomorrow, India, let's say India are 280 or 300 for 3 at end of day tonight. Sri Lanka will sit back, their bowling coach will give them a good hiding, say you bowl too straight, you bowl too much on the pad, you overpitch your balls. Then what will happen tomorrow? The bowlers will suddenly wake up. They will have a new energy, fresh, and they will suddenly start bowling on the pads. They will start bowling the cutters and all those deliveries. Once again, beautiful shot by Hanuma Bihari, just a touch of the bat and the second boundary for Hanuma Bihari. So as I was saying, Sri Lankan bowlers will be given a hiding by their coaches, bowling coach, main coach, everyone, going at 5 to the over, which has been done by numerous teams before. Then what will happen? Tomorrow they will come and let's say India are 300, 350 to 90. That's fair enough. That's how things go. Then the bowlers will suddenly have a new bout of energy. Something will happen from somewhere. They will start bowling cutters. They will start bowling slower deliveries. You will see LBWs happen, inside edges onto the stumps happen. We saw this in the New Zealand tournament. New Zealand didn't bowl in the first day. They didn't bowl that nicely. But on the second day, they took wickets. And that's exactly how things happen. I've seen this. This happened with South Africa, with India were 290 for 3. In that game in South Africa, it took 7 for 70. This happened with England, India. And India were 270, 280 for 3. And then England got the last 7 wickets for around 80 runs. This has happened with other countries. You think you are on a roll and you are 280 for 3. You are expected to hit 500, 600 for a joke. You might see Virat Kohli unbeaten on 20 by the end of tonight, batting with either Iyer or Pant. You never know. As Kumara steams into bowl 2 and he bowls a bouncer, but it doesn't make a difference as far as India is concerned. I've seen this on numerous occasions. The bowl, and if this was India bowling, Sri Lanka could have been 40 for 3 in 11 overs. So you would never know what would have happened if India was bowling first. And what would happen when once India starts bowling? He will release the spinners. And that's the way things are. The only positive aspect of this match, apart from India going at 5.5 runs per over, is that it's a clear weather. One of the few things that can happen in this part of the world, in the northern part of the world, no fog, nothing, but it's happening in the month of, it's a white, but not given a white, it's happening in the month of March. So it's not exactly cold, but it's no fog. That's the most important thing. That's the most important thing. No fog. No delayed start. So I would prefer a 10 a.m. start over a 9:30 a.m. start for various reasons, because 9:30 just doesn't seem like, it seems a very weird start. 9:30 is a buffer start, not an actual start. So 11.4 overs, 1 for 62. You can say they are going well, but let's not get carried away. There's a long way to go. Once again, another bouncer, and it's once again not a wide. And that's the most important. 12 fours in this particular match. And that's the way things are. We're just a couple of overs away from the last over discussion this morning as Lahiru Kumara steams in to bowl to Bihari, and this time on the pads, but good fielding. And it's after 12 with 1 for 62 as we descend into the final over discussion for this morning's episode. Of course, it's drinks. So, well, with drinks coming into the picture, that was the last over, and let's move further. So this ends episode number 490 on the 4th of March 2022 as a road to the 500 episode begins this morning. And I will be back with episode number 491 on the 7th of March 2022. So stay tuned as the road to the 500 episode begins this morning. And what should you do? Well, You can tune into the Phoenix Literature Festival Asia tomorrow evening 4 o'clock as I will be in discussion with an elite panel with the topic Asia's Rise to Dominance in English Literature. Once again, a reminder you can tune into the Phoenix Literature Festival Asia as I will be in discussion with an elite panel on the topic, on the theme Asia's Rise to Dominance in English literature. And while you wait for that episode and Monday's episode, you can put these books, you can put these legendary books, you can put these best selling books in your must read books column. Once again, you can put these legendary and best selling books in your must read books column.